Palm Beach's Paul, the jury has found you guilty of making poor videos. You are sentenced to 1 month of no YouTube. Case closed. What? Come on, I'm innocent. Did you know that on July 1st, there'll be 200 new laws that go into effect in the state of Florida? We're going to talk about a couple of them today. Hey there, I'm Palm Beach's Paul, your local realtor and guide to South Florida living, and welcome back to my channel. So starting in July, the state of Florida is going to have over 200 new laws going into place. Now, my channel has always been about showing you guys what life in Florida is about, right? I talk about real estate, I talk about beaches you can go to, I talk about everything that you might want to know if you're moving to the state of Florida, and particularly South Florida. And new laws going into place definitely are things that will affect you. Out of those 200, today we're going to talk about 4 of the most controversial laws that are going into place. So let's get started. Now, before we start talking about this video, I want to make it perfectly clear. I'm a realtor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a politician. I'm just presenting to you some of the new laws that are going into effect July 1st. I'm not giving my opinion on any of these laws, okay? Your opinion is your opinion, my opinion is my opinion. I don't ask people for their opinions. That's personal stuff. Leave all the comments you want down below, but please try to keep it respectful, guys. You know, if it's a really crude comment, it's not going to make it. It's going to get either deleted by YouTube itself or I'm going to delete it. So I just, I don't care what your opinion is, just keep it polite. So, all right. Let's get started. All right, so I have a lot of notes because there's just way too much for me to remember with all these laws and the verbiage and everything. It was a lot, and there's no way I was gonna remember it all. So I am gonna be using cheat notes. All right, so the first bill that we are gonna talk about is called the Sex Education in Schools, or House Bill 1069, also referred to as the Don't Say Period bill. This is probably one of the most controversial bills to hit the state of Florida since, I don't know, ever, as long as I've heard. There's been so many debates, arguments about this. It has parents upset. It has people on both sides of the House and the Senate upset. It's just, this is a bill that is really going to, you're going to see a lot of people talking about this coming in July. So this bill is the House Bill 1069. I'm trying to hold my notes up so I can look at you guys a little bit. And it redefines sex as a classification based on biological circumstances. So this will prohibit educators from referring to students using their preferred pronouns unless they match the student's biological sex. So the bill also bans instructions of menstrual cycles before the 6th grade and mandates that sex education emphasizes abstinence outside of marriage and the benefits of a monogamous heterosexual marriage. The instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity will be restricted until 8th grade. School libraries will also adopt a new system allowing parents to object to inappropriate educational materials. That was a mouthful. I've had clients reach out to me and talk about moving here, and then when they heard about this bill, this one client in particular was a school teacher. She said, I'm not moving to Florida. Based on those, I'm not going to use the word, laws that you guys are doing and the governor, I will not move to Florida and be a teacher. So that does affect me as a realtor because it prohibits me from potential people moving here. And after this video, some of y'all may decide Florida is not the state that you want to move to. Some of you may decide that Florida is exactly the state you want to move to. By the way, I got my notes off the internet from different news sources, and I also use ChatGPT to help me with some of this. So obviously those that are opposed to this say that the bill is a censorship of the LGBTQ+ people and their discussions. It says the bill prohibits classroom discussions about sexual orientation and gender identity from kindergarten through 8th grade. This restriction aims to limit the exposure of students to LGBTQ topics until they reach high school. So expansion of the book ban. So 1069 basically broadens the criteria for book bans in schools. It mandates that the automatic removal of any book that is objected to until the objection is resolved. So if a parent objects to a book, they have to remove the book until it's resolved. and this could lead to prolonged periods where books are unavailable to students. It also addresses the pronoun issue that everyone's having. Well, some are and some aren't. Pronouns like he, her, them, they, she, her, whatever, whichever pronouns you identify or use. This bill prohibits teachers and school staff from using their preferred pronouns and allows them to refuse to use a student's preferred pronouns, even if the parents have requested it. This policy disregards the preference and rights of both students and parents, and that's what has a lot of parents very upset. By the way, I'm sitting in front of the Kravitz Center, the Performing Arts Center here in downtown West Palm Beach, and boy, it's beautiful, just even the outside. I've only been inside, I think, once, but it's a really neat building. So, obviously, the opponents of the bill say that it infringes on the parents' rights, infringes on the students' and the teachers' rights. They also say that it's going to make it less inclusive for students that are of the LGBTQ+ community and the parents, you know, not having a right to say that they want their child to be, I guess, recognized as whatever their pronoun that they want. So, look, this is probably the one topic that was the most talked about in the state of Florida when they talked about it. And like it or not, it is coming July 1st. So, all right, guys, that's one of the bills. The next one is just as controversial. We're going to go to it next. Now, this next law was introduced to the state of North Carolina a while back, and it made national news, and well, some companies threatened to leave, people boycotted, and I expect we'll see the same thing here in the state of Florida. And that is House Bill 1521, or the one that is referred to as the bathroom ban based on sex at birth. This bill is saying is that individuals using public restrooms, school restrooms, university restrooms will have to use the restroom based on the sex that they were assigned at birth. So you can see where this is leading. So those that have maybe changed or identified as a different sex later on in life, they will no longer be allowed to go into a public restroom or a university or school restrooms if they identify as, say, a girl and they're a boy and they want to go into the girls' restroom. That will be illegal. All right, so the bathroom law. So basically it has a few provisions for certain exceptions, and those would be for intersex individuals, and basically it does set penalties for non-compliance. So it prohibits individuals from willfully entering facilities designated for the opposite sex and refusing to leave. So a building like this courthouse, you couldn't use the bathroom if, say, you identified as a girl but you're a boy and you wanted to go into the girls' restroom. You couldn't do that. Now, private businesses, you know, private places, I'm not sure. I assume they can do whatever they want. But public facilities and universities and schools and places like that, you will not be able to. So those in favor of the bill argue that the bill is necessary to protect the privacy and safety of individuals in gender segregated spaces, sorry guys, and they claim it codifies longstanding social norms and practices regarding the use of such facilities. But the opposition and criticism says that it, including the ACLU and the LGBTQ advocacy groups, argue that HB 1521 perpetuates discrimination against transgender and non-binary individuals by forcing them to use facilities they do not align with their gender identity. Supporters, including the bill sponsor, emphasize that the legislation reflects cultural and traditional values that have existed for over a century, suggesting it reinforces common sense norms learned from a young age. All right, guys, I've moved around a little bit. I've moved all over downtown West Palm Beach today. So I'm standing in front of Palm Beach Atlantic College, one of the private colleges here in West Palm Beach and Palm Beach County. And this next bill doesn't really apply to them, but it does if you go to places like the University of Florida or any of the public colleges here in the state of Florida. And it's a little noisy, and I'm right by the road, so it might be a tad noisy. But all right, so let me go over this bill, and there's a lot of notes on this one, so I'm gonna just look at my notes and read this. So, higher education reforms, State Bill 266. The Senate Bill 266 prohibits Florida colleges and universities from using state and federally funded funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The bill will also put restrictions on general education courses focusing on systematic racism, sexism, oppression, and privilege. Humanities courses will be required to include Western canon text and American historical documents. Funding will be provided to establish the Hamilton Center for Classical and Civic Education at the University of Florida and the Florida Institute for Governance and Civics at Florida State University. So what does all that mean? Well, that's why I got to read the notes here. So basically they're talking about defunding diversity programs in the state of Florida. SB 266 prohibits state funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs at public universities, and this is part of a broader effort by the governor to curtail what he describes as woke ideologies on campuses. So we've seen a lot of stuff going on in the news with the protests going on, with the situation with Israel and Palestine, and just a lot of different things happening on campuses. And the state of Florida, you know, their position on it is that no, they don't agree with that. And they don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's going on at some of the universities. So this new law goes into effect on July 1st. So the curriculum control, basically the bill limits the types of courses that can be offered, specifically targeting programs related to race and gender studies. It aims to shift the focus towards a neoclassical education emphasizing on Western European civilization, and that's from the ACLU of Florida. It's also the faculty hiring and tenure. This also affects hiring. So the bill gives more control over faculty hiring decisions to university boards of trustees who are appointed by the governor. It also allows for the review of tenure at any time, potentially undermining academic freedom and job security for professors. That's also from the ACLU of Florida. The ACLU also says that State Bill 266 restrictions on DEI programs and curriculum choices amount to censorship and government overreach. And educators and advocacy groups warn that the bill could diminish education here in the state of Florida. Oh, I had to get in the shade for a minute, man. It is so hot. Whew. So the bill is often referred to as the Stop the Woke Act. Yeah, say that fast. I've tried to record it 5 times. And basically, the bill prohibits the training in schools or even mandatory training in the workplace of people talking about being either privileged or oppressed based on their sex, national origin, or race. So they can't talk about that in work anymore. If that's part of the training program as of July 1st, you're not gonna be allowed to do that anymore, and it won't be allowed in schools. Well, what do you guys think so far? That's 3 of the new laws out of the 200 that are going into effect July 1st. Speaking of liking, if you like my videos, please hit that thumbs up button. That helps the analytics. I would love for you to subscribe to the channel. I know a lot of you are first-time viewers, and I would really like if my current subscribers would come back more often. I have more first-time viewers than I have returning viewers, so you guys help me out with that a little bit. We're almost to 20,000 subscribers, which is super cool. And you could share the video with anyone who you know who might want to move to Florida and want to know a good realtor to help them out and entertain them. And then, of course, you guys can support me financially by either clicking the membership and joining, where I'll be doing some private videos just for you and one-on-one type stuff where, you know, where I'll do like live streams. And then also there's always just buy me a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/Palm Beaches Paul, and you can buy me a coffee because it is bloody hot out here today and I could use a nice coffee right now. Better yet, an ice cold beer would be wonderful. All right, y'all, it has been a long, hot day. If you guys only knew the effort I go into making these videos for you. I started in West Palm Beach. I walked around until I nearly had a heat stroke. I had to get out of there. And now I'm in Boynton Beach. I'm actually standing in front of the brand new Boynton Beach Police Department that they built, I think maybe 2 years ago it's been here. So nice building right here, just off of Gateway. So we're gonna talk about the last law that's going into place or into effect come July 1st. And that's gonna be the law that says you can now have a concealed weapon in the state of Florida without a permit. So House Bill 453 will allow Floridians to no longer be required to carry a government-issued permit for a concealed weapon. The new law also eliminates the need for background checks and firearm training, which has a lot of people, even a lot of gun owners and people on that side, a little bit upset about it. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. So the bill allows individuals legally allowed to carry a firearm to do so now without a permit. Now, I know I went to a class with my wife a couple years ago to get a concealed weapons permit. We took the course. We never actually went through with getting the concealed weapon permit. Reason being, I just didn't feel comfortable carrying a gun in my car. That's my choice. So, but now I could actually go buy a gun. You still have to do the 3-day waiting period, and the law still, I believe, applies to those who have a felony. I'm not a lawyer, but check with that. But basically, I could now go buy a gun and wait 3 days, and then get my gun and carry it in my car, and I do not have to have a permit to carry it. So, advocates, including Governor Ron DeSantis and various pro-gun organizations, argue that the bill strengthens Second Amendment rights by removing unnecessary barriers to self-defense and personal protection. Consistency with other states, Florida becomes the 26th state to adopt the permitless carry. Supporters believe that the bill simplifies the process for law-abiding citizens to exercise their right to carry firearms, removing the need for additional background checks and mandatory training that they see is redundant for responsible gun owners. Now, obviously there are those who oppose this. There's quite, people don't like this new change. There's always those who like and don't like with any of the laws that we've spoken about today. Public safety critics, including law enforcement officials and gun safety advocates, argue that by eliminating the permit requirement could lead to increased gun violence. They point to studies showing higher rates of gun homicides and violent crime in states with permitless carry laws. Now, I didn't do any research on that. You have to do that on your own. Lack of training. The removal of mandatory training for concealed carry is seen as a risk, potentially leading to mishandling of firearms and dangerous situations in public spaces. Listen, pro-gun, not pro-gun, there's a lot of idiots who should not have guns right now. And I'm not saying I'm for or against guns and any of that. I grew up in Texas. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of stupid people who drink and have guns that shouldn't. There's also a lot of stupid people who boat and drink and shouldn't have boats, but that's a different video for a different time. And of course, law enforcement, where I am right now, they have a concern that permitless carry could complicate law enforcement efforts, making it harder to identify individuals who are carrying firearms legally versus those who are not. Now, as I said, a lot of people who you would think wouldn't oppose it do. A significant majority of Floridians, including gun owners, oppose the paperless carry law. A University of North Florida poll indicated that 3/4 of residents are against the legislation, citing safety concerns and the potential for increased violence. So even gun owners aren't happy with that change. So, whatever, I guess they have to try to vote it out. It's going into place July 1st, so it's there. All right, folks, there you go. There's 4 new laws out of the 200 that are going into effect July 1st here in the state of Florida. Leave a comment down below. I'm sure you will, whether you agree, disagree. Remember, I'm just a realtor. I'm just bringing you the facts about Florida. That's what I do. And these are laws that are going into effect. So if you're thinking about moving to Florida, you may agree with some of these, you may not. So that's totally up to you. But my job is to always tell you what's going on here in Florida as a realtor and what affects you if you decide to move here. So be sure to stay tuned for more videos. I'll be doing more videos about real estate and hurricane season coming up. I got some other fun things coming up to talk about. Not that hurricanes are fun to talk about, you know what I mean. And hey, just keep watching, subscribe, appreciate the support. Let's get me to 20,000, we're almost there. And let's hit that 30,000 goal by the end of December, maybe even more. I appreciate you guys, love the support. I hope this video takes off. Make this one blow up for me. And wherever you are in the world, get out and enjoy paradise. I'll talk to you next time.